We're starting with Skaven because they're the best. Hello and welcome to Miniatures Rundown. Today we're talking Skaven, the best faction in Warhammer Age of Sigmar.
I think you mean the best.
I almost said the best faction in Warhammer 40k, and you know what? They're the best faction in 40k too. They're just the best faction. As with all of the factions for Age of Sigmar 4th edition, they got an index, a faction pack.
Different.
It's not different. Well, you know what? No.
It is different.
It is better. Yeah, you beat me to the joke. It is different. It's better. Overall, and I will say this is the first of our review of all of the faction packs. I will say overall, at least the ones I've read, and I haven't gotten to all of them. I've not yet gotten to Gloomspite Gets, so I could be wrong. Most of these are better than the worst of the 40k ones.
Yes, I can agree with that.
It seems like they did their due diligence. Let's start with Skaven. So, Skaven. First off, I was surprised because a lot of the models that are disappearing from the range still have rules.
Yes.
But not all of them.
Nope.
And we'll get to that. So their basic rules. We'll start with their battle traits. Their faction traits. Deployment phase. You get to pick a friendly Skaven unit that you haven't deployed, and you get to deploy it into the tunnels below. You get to put it in a reserve.
Yeah.
Worth noting that unlike Stormcast, there's no limit on this.
That's true. Stormcast says as long as you have more on the field than off the field, you can put another one off the field.
You have to start half your army on the field.
They actually even specifically called this out, I believe, on... I don't remember if it was on Warcom or not, but it said you can null deploy if you want.
You can null deploy.
And there is nothing stopping you from just putting everything in the tunnels.
For those of you new to Age of Sigmar, null deploy means starting the game with nothing on the table.
Yep.
Which is quite funny. That ties into the Gnawhole ambush, which is during your movement phase. So this is an ability. Remember, Age of Sigmar is based around abilities. All these things happen. This is an ability. Not a core ability, it's just an ability. You pick one friendly Skaven unit that is in the tunnels below. You set up that unit wholly within 6 of the Gnawhole and more than 9 from all enemy units.
Wholly within 6 of the Gnawhole?
Yes, wholly within 6 of the friendly Gnawhole, if it's Skaven mirror match, and more than 9 for enemy units.
Yes.
So wholly within means you do have to get all your big units within 6 inches. And that's your ambush mechanic. As far as setting up the Gnawholes, if there are fewer than 3 friendly Gnawholes on the battlefield, you set up a Gnawhole at the start of the battle round, more than 9 inches from all enemy units, more than an inch away from friendly units, so you can zone yourself out accidentally.
Yep.
And more than 3 inches from all objectives and other terrain features. So, just a reminder, I'm going to say that a lot because new edition here, right? Faction terrain can be destroyed now. It has health and it has wounds. It has an armor save. So the idea of this is that your opponent's kind of playing whack-a-mole with the Gnawholes.
Yeah.
They're destroying them, and you can only put up 1 each turn, but you can keep putting them up, and they can keep destroying them, and you can go back and forth. And that's the main gist of the army, is that you have these Gnawhole terrain pieces that go, and then your army floods out, and your opponent either deals with it or doesn't. This gives them kind of unparalleled mobility.
Yes. So, previous edition, you put up... everybody's faction terrain was set up at the beginning of the game, and monsters could destroy them. But once they were gone, they were gone. And now this is... you have 3 Gnawholes maximum, and you can set up to 5 per game.
Yes.
It makes and you can set them up depending on, like, where the objective moves or where your opponent goes or what's dead. I love this change.
And previously, because you put up all 3 at the beginning of the game, and there were kind of weird restrictions, basically you got to put one up in each kind of triangle of the board, which kind of made sense. You were telegraphing where you wanted to pop up.
Right.
And for some missions, that was fine. Other missions, you couldn't do that. So you kind of had to, you were just playing your hand. In this one, you can be much more opportunistic with your Gnawholes, which is much more Skaven, and I love it.
Exactly. I was going to say very sneaky.
It might be my favorite Skaven change this edition.
Yeah.
How this plays.
That's a good point.
Skaven also have another passive called Too Quick to Hit, which is normally when you have to retreat, you take mortal wounds. Skaven infantry and cavalry don't.
Yep.
They just... Hey, you know that core rule that we introduced? Yeah, never mind.
They don't do that.
And last but not least, they have a once per turn hero phase ability during, your enemy hero phase. That's very important, called Always 3 Claw Steps Ahead, which is basically you get to pick a friendly, not monster Skaven unit that is not in combat and has not been set up this turn. So, not a monster, not in combat, did not pop out of a Gnawhole. They get to move during your opponent's movement phase.
Which is, again, really, really good movement, not only in the teleporting, but also in the just getting around the board.
You can't do both at once.
Correct.
But, it is worth noting, because I was confused on this as well, remember that abilities can be done multiple times per turn. A unit cannot do a core ability, like attack, more than once per turn.
Right.
And you can't use a command ability more than once per phase.
Right. Otherwise, it is completely dependent on, like, once per turn, army.
But like the Gnawhole ambush, which is during your movement phase, you can use as many Gnawhole ambushes as you have Skaven units in reserve and as room you have by your Gnawholes.
Yep.
You could, if you have the room, deploy your entire army turn 1.
Yep.
You don't have the room, but you could.
You pop up a Gnawhole, and then all of them come out.
So overall, I'm super positive on Skaven so far.
Yeah, me too.
They feel very Skaven. Let's get now into the battle formations, which is your sub-factions. They're your sub-factions. What's gone? Keyword bingo.
So I see Scryer, Molder, Verminous, and Pestilence, which means Eshin is
wrecked.
gone. Yep, Eshin is gone, despite there being Eshin units, I believe.
Yeah, there's still plenty of Eshin units.
Yep, they're gone. And then there was what? There's 6 normally, right? I think we're missing one more.
Master Clan.
Yeah, Master.
Which doesn't really count. So these roughly map to the Skaven Great Clans, as many of the sub-factions do. When we talk about Stormcast, we'll talk about how they're kind of mapped to given chambers.
Yeah.
Right. But what's gone is the whole keyword bingo thing of having X number of Master Clans to unlock this, and X number of Molders to unlock that, and X number of Pestilence. It kind of encouraged you to go like either all in on one sub-faction. That's all gone. None of that exists anymore. These still do interact with certain clan keywords, though.
Yes.
So the keyword bingo isn't entirely gone. It's just much reduced.
Because if you take, for example, Warpcog Convocation, why did I pick one of the hardest ones to say? Then only your Scryer units get benefits, and anything that's not a Scryer unit's not going to get whatever this is.
Well, what's our Scryer unit? What is our Warpcog Convocation?
It is, I go Splody, you go Boom. You can, in the shooting phase, your shooting phase, once per turn, you can pick up to 3 Scryer units, and you roll a dice for each one. On a 1, they take D3 mortal wounds. The classic Skaven.
Yep.
Sorry, mortal damage. It's different. On a 2 through 5, they get +1 to the wound rolls for the rest of the turn for their shooting attacks, and on a 6, you get +1 to the wound rolls and +1 to your rend for ranged attacks.
Right.
So your guns get way better, but you could explode.
And what are some common Scryer units? Well, Jezzails. Storm Fiends.
Warp Lightning Cannon.
Warp Lightning Cannons. Doom Wheels.
Doom Wheels.
Doom Flayers, which don't have a shooting attack, so it doesn't really matter. But
Scryer Acolytes with their Globadeer.
they're still in this.
I know.
You can still use them.
I hate that they're still
They won't be the next time. So yeah, that is obviously your shooting buffing army. It only buffs your shooting, but your shooting's pretty good.
+1 to wound is
nasty. We'll see that when we start talking about some of our favorite war scrolls. Yeah. Flesh Meld Menagerie, which is not any more easy to say than Warpcog Convocation, is the same thing but for Molder. It's once per turn during your hero phase, so you have to pick a little sooner. You pick up to 3 non-hero Molder units, which is basically Rat Ogres.
And the Hell Pit Abomination.
It's basically Rat Ogres. And I believe Storm Fiends also have it.
Yeah.
And Hell Pits are not bad, but Rat Ogres are really fun and really good. This is mostly about those big rats.
Yeah, and they come in the box, so.
Yeah, same thing where it's roll a dice for each target and apply this corresponding effect. Now, this one's a little different because there's a bigger chance to hurt yourself, but also a bigger chance to get the really good effect. Because on a 1 or a 2, you just get D3 mortal wounds to yourself. On a 3 or a 4, you get +1 attacks to melee weapons. On a 5 or a 6, you get +1 attacks to melee weapons and a 5-up ward. So bigger chance to hurt yourself, but bigger chance to get that 5-up ward. Worth noting that Rat Ogres specifically already get +1 attack from their ability.
Ooh.
And the potential for D3 self-damage from their ability.
So you could nuke one of your own guys, or you could turbo buff your own
Turbo
guys.
buff them, yeah. Now, we both hate Pestilence, so who wants to do this one?
Pestilence probably my second favorite, honestly.
Oh, right, we don't hate Pestilence. I hate Pestilence.
Yeah, you hate Pestilence. You just put that on me.
I ate Pestilence?
Virulent Procession is pick 3 Pestilence units. I don't know if you're noticing a pattern
It's
here.
at the end of the turn.
At the end of the turn, once per turn, but there is no dice to roll. For every target, make a pile-in move, and then pick an enemy unit in combat with the target. On roll a d3 on a 2-up, you inflict mortal wounds equal to the roll.
So 66% chance to inflict either 2 or 3 mortal wounds.
Yes. And it's on 3 different units. This one seems a little iffy to me.
If you crash 3 Pestilence units, and there aren't many Pestilence units anymore.
There's not.
The only Pestilence units are the Plague Priest on Plague Furnace, because the Plague Priest is gone.
That pisses me off.
It's so weird that they took out the Foot Priest, which is a bad model, needs to be redone.
Yeah.
That's fine. But they left in, I guess they weren't going to take out the Plague Furnace. They left in the Verminlord Corruptor, is still and then Plague Monks.
Yep.
And then I guess also the Plague Claw Catapult, but if you charge in with a Plague Claw Catapult, I mean, use this anyway because it's funny, I guess.
I mean, flavorful, runs people over.
If you crash 3 units of Plague Monks into the same target and get lucky and do 6 to 9 mortal wounds,
Yeah.
I could see this. And you can do it every single turn.
That's true.
This is 2 to 3 mortal, and your Pestilence should always be charging.
Yes.
Because you're not going to survive the clapback.
No. That's their whole thing is squishy and damaging.
But if you're doing this every turn, it's kind of consistent mortal damage.
Yeah, I could see that.
I actually like this because it's, it feels thematic and fun. Last one is Claw Horde. This is kind of your Verminous one. Once per turn in your combat phase, you pick up to 3 friendly Verminous units, which is your Clan Rats, your Claw Lords, the Warbringer, and your Storm Vermin, which are still in the book currently. You pick 3 friendly Verminous units that charged, and they get +1 rend.
Sure. That's like the most generically useful, I feel.
It is. +1 rend on Clan Rats doesn't mean crap. +1 rend on your Warbringer is terrifying.
True.
That's my least favorite.
Yeah.
I gotta say, though, that these are all nice, and it really just depends on what you want to be pulling the weight in your army.
Right.
If you want Plague Monks to be pulling your weight as your damage pieces, you go with the Virulent Procession. If you want your shooting pieces to be doing it, you go with shooting. If you want your Molder units to be doing it, you go with Molder. I'd say these are all fairly equal, with perhaps Claw Horde being the weakest. Maybe.
Probably. But also there's like no chance for failure, it just happens.
That's
all the other ones have failure options.
That is the flip side, right?
Yeah.
The rest are very Skaven. Heroic traits, aka your devious machinations. These are heroes only, non-unique heroes, which in the case of Skaven means Thankful can't get anything, and Screech Vermin King can't get anything.
Those are only 2 characters?
Those are the only 2 named characters.
Wow.
Everybody else died.
I mean, fair.
And they took out the named characters from the Underworld's warbands.
That's true.
So no Screech, no Thankful, but keep that in mind that your non-named Vermin Lords can get these.
That's true.
Because that's going to make some of these a lot better than they seem at first glance. In any combat phase, if you have Scurry Away, when this unit is in combat, you can roll a dice. On a 3-up, that unit can immediately use the retreat ability as if it were your movement phase. Basically, this allows you to punch and then leave. Or just leave before you punch. It basically allows you to get out of a combat you don't want to be in.
Yes.
Which is not bad.
It's not terrible. I probably wouldn't put that on a Vermin Lord because they kind of want to be in combat.
Right.
But on something that's either maybe gets a charge bonus.
Yep.
It'd be pretty good. Next is Short-Tempered, and it's just passive all the time. Add 1 to run and charge rolls for friendly Skaven while they're wholly within 13 inches.
Yeah. You're going to notice wholly within 13 a lot.
Yeah.
Which in this book, because the state of the game has changed so much, is actually a big benefit.
Yeah.
A lot of things are wholly within 12.
Well, yeah.
But we get 13.
We get 13 because we're Skaven.
Because we're better.
Plus
1 run and charge is fine.
Yep, +1 run and charge is fine. It does affect the unit that has it, so you can put it on a Vermin Lord, for example, and get a huge, 25-inch aura, and then he also gets +1 to run and charge. It's pretty good.
Not bad. Skilled Manipulators is the last one. This one's also just a passive. While this unit is within the combat range of a friendly non-hero Skaven infantry unit, they get a 4-up bodyguard. Here's how that works. In game language, they have a 4-up ward. Every time you succeed on that 4-up ward, you allocate 1 damage point to a friendly non-hero Skaven infantry unit, and that cannot itself be negated.
Right.
You'll notice that's basically the same as what had happened last time.
Essentially.
But last edition in Age of Sigmar, they didn't always write bodyguard ward rules clearly, so they had to go back and fix it a few times.
Yeah.
This is essentially the same thing. every time you make a ward roll, which is per damage, not damage roll, per damage, you pass off that damage to a bodyguard unit.
It should be noted that because of this, there are some interesting interactions, as in there are some ways to reduce ward rolls, and it makes this weaker, or increase ward rolls and make it better.
The Caradron Overlords have a grenade that shuts off ward rolls.
Yep.
That shuts this off.
Yep.
It also means you can't use another ward roll and then use this.
That's true.
Because, for example, if you have a 5-up ward, you can use your 5-up ward, or you can use this. Actually, you might not even get to choose. You might have to use this.
You might have
because
to use
it's
the
a
best
ward,
one.
because it just says each time you make a successful ward roll for this unit.
That's true.
It doesn't even say you get to pick. But you can't do a thing where it's like, oh, I have a 5-up ward, and then I have this afterwards. Haha.
Yeah.
None of that.
I remember the days of, I believe it was 2nd edition when I started playing Age of Sigmar, and it was, you had a 6-up ward because you were undead. Sorry, Soul Blight. And then a 5-up from a artifact, and then you could pass it off onto somebody else, and then they got a ward.
Yeah.
Very
The
stupid.
stacking ward thing was a problem.
Yeah. Oh, that's not even including a save.
Yeah, and they've appear to have nipped this in the bud.
Yes, they making sure that never happens.
You gotta nip it in the bud.
Next we have the artifacts of power,
Spelled the British way, aka wrong.
called Relics of Ruin. The first one is Foul Hide. Super, super easy. End of any turn, heal D3 on this unit. The more health, the better. Don't put this on someone with 3 health on them.
No, but that is very good on a Vermin Lord.
Yes.
Who wants to be in combat, make them even harder to kill.
Very good on the pendulum or the bell.
Yes.
Either one of those
The
would be
furnace
great.
or the bell, yeah.
Yep, the furnace or the bell. And it's any turn, so both yours and your opponent's. It's fantastic.
And you could also take the Warp Zone Charm, which is at the end of any combat phase, or sorry, not end. In any combat phase, you can pick an enemy unit in combat and roll a dice on a 3-up. They get -1 to save for the rest of the turn. This was very similar to an artifact that was present last one. It's good. It used to just be all the time. Now it's on a 3-up.
Yeah, fair. But +1 rend is stronger than it was before.
It is.
Because rend in general is lower than it was before.
Which is why they made it on a 3-up only.
And lastly, for the artifacts of power, once per battle, any combat phase, pick a friendly non-hero Skaven infantry wholly within 13 inches of this unit to be the target. Inflict D3 mortal wounds on the target, and then add 1 to the attack characteristic of the target's melee weapons for the rest of the turn. So basically, they take D3 damage but get +1 attack on the whole unit.
And because Skaven infantry are usually not high health, this is probably going to kill 3 of them, but it's going to be a bonus.
Yes.
Worth noting, Rat Ogres have the infantry keyword.
What? Why did they do that?
Because put some Skaven brew in your Rat Ogre, right? And just kind of open the top and pour it in.
Yeah, fair. Do storm vermin have infantry?
Yeah. Why wouldn't? Oh, you mean Storm Fiends?
Storm fiends. Sorry, not storm
We'll
vermin.
check in a bit.
We will, because that sounds terrifying too.
And then there's spell lore, the lore of Ruin. There's Wither, Skitter Leap, and Warp Gale. Wither is your basic D3 damage. Well, goes off in a 6.
Yep, and it's an unlimited spell. Just blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, just it's by
it is pick a visible enemy unit within 13 inches to be the target.
yes. Woohoo. Skitter Leap is a teleport, and it's amazing.
Yeah, it's always good. Teleports are always fantastic.
Goes off on a 6. Pick a friendly Skaven wizard. Pick a visible friendly Skaven hero. Doesn't say they have to not be a Vermin Lord. Hello.
True.
Wholly within 13, and then roll a 6. Remove the target from the battlefield, and then set it up again on the battlefield more than 9 inches away.
Yep.
That's fantabulous. No range requirement or no range limit on where you can set them up anymore.
The only real downside is it has to be a hero. You can't teleport a whole unit. It has to be a hero.
Right, but that's where you get to this heroes. It doesn't even say non-unique heroes.
Nope.
So you could teleport Thankful.
You can. I did think about that.
Thankful out of nowhere.
Yeah, remember Thankful on his surfboard.
Thankful with a steel chair.
And the last one is Warp Gale, which is cast on a 7. Pick a visible enemy unit within 18 inches, roll 2d6, blah, blah, blah. The target has strike last for the rest of the turn, which I think that one is decent because rats are kind of squishy.
Yes.
So being able to put that on a big combat unit and definitely hit them first is, I feel like,
Yes.
not a small deal.
Yes, I agree.
And that's probably the reason it's cast on a 7 where the other 2 are 6s.
All of these are really good.
Yeah.
Wither is probably the most boring, but it's fine if you have nothing else to cast.
Yeah.
And that's the nice thing is you just get the way it works now is you just get this ruin.
Yep.
You just get this lore. You don't have to pick one of these to put on each hero. Your Skaven heroes know this lore or can know this lore.
Yeah.
Prayer lore. before we start prayer lores, we got to talk about priests, because there's only 3 of them.
Yes, because they cut one of them.
There's the Plague Furnace. The Vermin Lord Corruptor is a priest. So there's not very many priests anymore.
No.
You can't have a bunch of plague priests on foot doing cheap prayers. That is gone.
That's probably why they got rid of the Plague Priest on foot.
All
which
of your
upsets
priests
me.
are expensive
Yeah.
and important pieces in your army.
Yep.
Remember, the way priests work is you're supposed to chant and build up this pool of chant points and then use them. You can't do that with a bunch of priests now.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind. The noxious prayers, these are your pestilence ones. First one is that basically you can goes off on a 4, add 1 to wound rolls for a friendly Skaven infantry unit within 13 inches, wholly within 13 inches. If you go off on an 8+, they also get crit mortal. Once again, I must call out that Skaven infantry not only includes Stormvermin, Plague Monks, and Clan Rats, but also Fried Ogres.
Yep. Because this doesn't say pestilence.
No, thankfully.
Yes. It'd be way bad if you could. The next one is Bile Torrent. It is. Oh, and it also should be mentioned that the previous one is unlimited, so you can cast that more than
Yes.
Bile Torrent, which is cast on a 4. Pick a Plague Priest to chant this prayer 13 inches. Roll a number of dice equal to the models in target unit, and for every 5 up, inflict a mortal damage on the target. If it was cast on an 8 up, you do a mortal wound on a 4 up instead.
It's horde clear.
Yep.
It's fine.
Target a 20-man unit and, kill half of them.
It's fine. Rabid Tough is in your hero phase, obviously. Pick a friendly Skaven priest, then pick a visible friendly Skaven infantry unit wholly within 13 inches. On a 5, go subtract -1 to wound, which is very powerful. On an 8 up, they also get +1 save.
So there's offensive, defensive, buffing.
Yes.
Were the 3.
Yes. That one's fine. I could probably see it being used the least, but -1 to wound is pretty brutal.
-1 to wound, and if you save it up so that it's +1 to save as well, again, Skaven are pretty squishy, but those 2 combined could be kind of scary.
All the manifestations now go off on a 7. We're just going to talk about our favorite war scrolls now.
Yes.
So, not going to go through every single war scroll and say whether we think it's good or bad. We might do that later.
Because we don't want to...
But I want to call out some of my favorites. I think maybe you have a couple favorites you want to call out.
I'm a Scryer fanboy. So.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. I'll leave those for you. But the manifestations are all better. Okay, so Warp Lightning Vortex has 7 health and a 6 up save. Goes off on a 7. You still have to put it up in a triangle. And if you kill part of it, all 3 pieces have 7 wounds.
Yeah.
7 health,
They have combined 7 health.
If this manifestation was not set up this turn, each enemy unit within 6 inches, you roll a dice on a 4 up, D3 mortal wounds on the target. But not on the turn it was set up.
Which is sad.
Yeah, but I kind of get why. You also subtract 2 from run rolls and charge rolls for enemy, not all, enemy units while you're within 6 inches. In addition, if an enemy unit passes across the manifestation, inflict D3 mortal damage. So even if you fly over it, it no longer slows you normally. But if you try and run or charge anywhere starting within 6 inches of this.
6 inches of any of the 3.
And that's the important thing to remember, because these 3 things are, 6 inches apart from each other. So this thing has a really, really big radius.
Yes, it does.
Yes, it's only after the turn has been set up, but the idea is that you set this up and your opponent has to deal with it. And if they're dealing with it, they're not dealing with something else.
Correct.
So I still like it. I like it a lot better.
I could see you putting it basically centered on an objective and go deal with it, or the objective is mine.
Right. Deal with it or take a fair chunk of damage.
Yeah.
D3 for a 4 up is nothing to sneeze at.
Yep.
And then the run on charge is just annoying.
Yeah.
No, it's not as good as it once was. This is an absolute nerf, but it needed to be nerfed. And I say that as somebody who loves Skaven.
True.
It has always been a problem.
And we're going to notice a pattern with the endless spells and all the manifestations because they're all free now.
Exactly. They cannot be too good.
Yeah, they can't be busted or it's going to cause problems. So they have to be nerfed somehow.
We'll talk about this in a later video when we talk about manifestations, but it does have the downside of meaning that there's some manifestations that you just take.
Yeah.
Forbidden Power might have become auto-buy.
Yeah. Oh, it's out of stock? That's weird.
Yeah, what a strange thing. Anyway, so All right, so starting off with my favorite war scroll, or rather, the war scroll I wanted to talk about the most, which is Thankful on Bone Ripper. So Thankful is 360 points, 380 points. He's a lot more points than he was. But the big thing about him, and he's got 14 health, 4 up save, 5 control, 8-inch movements. He now comes with his Warp Fire projectors and braziers, built in.
Yes,
He doesn't pick between them anymore, which means you no longer have to pick between your Thankful having, shooty or punchy. He does it all.
He does.
That is why he is so much more expensive, because this man is now a terror in melee and at ranged. At range, he's got his custom Warp Fire projectors, which are 10-inch range. He's just got 6 attacks, 2s and 3s, 2 rend, 1 damage. He's got the braziers, which are 6 attacks, 4s and 2s, 3 rend, 3 damage.
Jesus.
And then he's also got the Staff of the Horned Rat, which is a wizard rat bonk, which is not very good. It's,
Yeah, it's
4s
a
and 4s,
attack.
1 rend, D3 damage. It does have 4 attacks, though, which is a lot more than a lot of wizards.
It is more than most wizards.
He's just really, he's on Warpstone crack, so he's just.
That was my thought.
It's a meth addict running up to you and hitting you over the head with a stick. If you get damaged, the Warp Fire braziers go down to 4 attacks.
Yeah.
If you take more than 10 wounds. But so overall, this guy's a lot scarier in combat than he was. Now he's only 4 up save, and you can't put any of those nice things to keep him safe near him. So keep that in mind. He's kind of squishy. He is a wizard too. He has a built-in 5-up ward,
Which is pretty good.
which is pretty darn good. He's a war master. He is unique, so you can't put anything on him. Once per turn at any combat phase, you get to pick an enemy unit that you're in combat with. Roll a d6. On a 3 or a 5, they get d3 mortals. On a 6, they get 2 d3 mortals, because Bone Ripper's just ripping bones. He has a permanent +1 to his casting because of the Staff of the Horned Rat. So he's a double caster with +1 to cast. Not bad. At the end of any turn, he heals d3. So he's got that one thing that we liked built in, because it's Thankful. That's what he always does. He's got a special spell called Terrible Madness. Pick a visible enemy unit within 13 inches. Make a casting roll. Target cannot use commands until the start of the next turn. In addition, roll a number of dice equal to models. For every 6, get a mortal.
Yep.
Goes off on a 7. That's very similar to a spell that Screech has as well. So overall, he's probably not as good as he was last edition. He's gone up in points, although a lot of things have.
Yeah.
But I really like that you don't have to pick between which version to build.
I remember when you bought that model, you were like, which ones do I do? Do I do all 4 range? Do I do all 4 melee? Do I do 50-50? And you struggled with that for a little bit.
I did, because it really dictates how you play him.
And now it doesn't matter.
Now he's just terrifying all the time.
Yeah.
So
I do like that, yes, he's a little squishy, but Ward 5+, healing twice a round, and teleport him around the board. He's kind of annoying.
oh yeah, he's absolutely going to be irritating.
But yeah, I like him a lot.
And remember, he's got access to that spell lore.
True.
And that spell lore is pretty good.
It's true. All right. So if you know me, you know that I like random crazy stuff. And the Rattling Warp Blaster can certainly do that.
It's the random crazy stuff in this book.
It's the random crazy stuff in this book. So it's in the Skaven Tide box. And it is movement 6, 7 health, 2 control, and a 4-up save. So the Skaven, kind of squishy. It has the Hail of Warpstone Bullets, which is range 20, 3d6 plus 3 attacks, hits on a 4, wounds on a 3, 1 rend, 1 damage, and crit auto wound. So lethal hits.
So if you hit, you get if you roll a 6 to hit, you get a free wound.
Yep. And its melee is nothing. 4 attacks, 4/5, no rend, 1 damage.
Its melee doesn't matter.
It's don't get in melee.
Yeah.
But its abilities are where it shines. It gets +1 to hit if it targets a unit with a shooting attack. If the unit it targets has 10 or more models.
So horde clear.
So it hits on a 3 instead of a 4. And then once per turn in your army. So this is the real problem with this, is you can't have 2 and buff both.
Yes.
Which is an issue that I have a little bit. But if it is within combat range of a Scryer hero, its ability for the Hail of Warpstone Bullets goes from 3d6 plus 3 to 6d6 plus 3. Again, hitting on a 3 if you target something that has 10 or more models. However, for every 1 you roll to hit, you take a mortal wound.
Yes.
Which can be bad and by can be I mean is, but having the ability to roll up to 39 attacks hitting on 3s. Oh, and also you can buff them with the Scryer subfaction to get +1 to hit. Oh no, sorry, +1 to wound.
Yes.
So you're wounding on a 2.
Oh boy. Now let's
I like it a lot.
Let's do the math. let's do some math. 3d6 plus 3 normally. So normally an average of 3.5 per dice.
That's 10.5 plus 3.
So basically, you're gonna roll an average of 13 to 14 shots plus 3.
13?
So
You said 13.
yeah, so you're gonna roll an average of 13 to 14 shots normally, which is pretty decent. That's so you're hitting on 4s. If you're not shooting anything buffed,
Sure.
You're hitting on 4s, like 7 of those gonna go through. Wounding on 3s, you're down to like 4 or 5 of those gonna go through. What I'm saying is outside of its ability, you're probably only gonna get like 4, 5, 6 damage once you start factoring in the auto wounding and the rend and that stuff. That goes up pretty nicely if you're shooting at hordes. But more warpstone bullets.
Yes.
So the average number of shots on 66 plus 3 is let me see, 6 times 3.5. 6 times 3 is 18. So it's about 21 shots on average plus 3. So about 24 shots on average.
Yep.
Do the rest of the math yourself. You're getting a lot more. You're basically doubling your damage, which makes sense because you're doubling the number of dice. But what are the odds you kill yourself? So you're rolling 6 dice.
You have 7 health.
You have 7 health. If you're rolling 6 dice, you're on average only going to take 1 mortal.
So you would need 6 times 7. How much 6 times 7?
42.
42. So you would, in order to one-shot yourself from full to dead, on average, you would need 42 attacks,
Yes.
which you cannot get.
Right.
So you shouldn't one-shot yourself. Now, you might. Plus, I mean, you could take damage from the Scryer abilities.
Right. So on average, you're going to get, 21 shots?
Yeah.
Because not
24.
Well, not counting the plus 3, because that plus 3 is just... Or no, wait, no, you will get plus 3. Sorry. You're going to get 24 shots. 1 in 6 of them is going to be...
Yeah,
so on average, you're going to deal 4 damage to yourself.
Yes.
Roughly. This is napkin math. This is very napkin math. On average, you're going to deal 4 wounds to yourself. The problem is that it doesn't take much to spike that into 7.
It does not. And that's my favorite part.
This is a wonderfully Skaven little thing.
I love it.
I love it. It's not amazing damage by any means, but it's pretty good against a horde. 190 points.
190 points.
Not bad.
Not terrible. It's just a little more than your average hero.
My bigger problem is that there is nothing preventing this from counterfire.
Nope.
And it is very weak to counterfire.
And its range is only 20?
Yeah. Well, that's kind of normal. There's not a lot of stuff that's super range anymore, except like the Jazales. But only 7 health on a 4-up save, which is not too bad. But a lot of things could kill that.
Yeah.
Because remember, counter battery fire is now a thing that you can do. Like, this thing shoots and you can shoot back. And if you've already put 4 wounds on yourself, you are making it very easy.
But by then it's done its job.
If you only get 1 turn of shooting out of this, I don't think you've done 190 points of job.
I still like it, Josh.
Oh, no, I think it's great. I think you need to be judicious about your use of more warp bullets.
Oh, no. That button's always on for me. That button's I'm never letting go of that button.
And Mitchell wonders why he doesn't win at 40 or at Age of Sigmar.
At anything, really.
No, I think this is a good unit. I think you got to be careful. Use it on priority targets, more warp bullets. Don't just use it on, like, I'm going to kill a Claw Lord, because you've wasted your shot.
But what if I really need to kill that Claw Lord?
Oh, well, then you've been there, go ahead.
But by all means, go for it.
Speaking of Claw Lord, I want to call out the Humble Claw Lord, because he hasn't changed much, and that's not a bad thing. So your Humble Claw Lord, 6-inch move, 4-up save, 2 control, 5 health, 120 points. He comes with a Warp Forged Blade, this is the one on foot, by the way.
Yes.
The other one's also good, but is more points. He has a Warp Forged Blade that has 6 attacks, hits on 3s, wounds on 4s, 1 rend, 2 damage. By himself, that's not particularly great. The thing is that while this unit is damaged at all, add 3 to the attacks characteristic. 9 attacks, hitting on 3s, wounding on 4s, 1 rend, 2 damage is actually pretty scary.
That is pretty scary. A possibility of 18 damage on a single 120-point model.
You'd have to really spike, but yeah. He also has the reaction that is when you declare a fight ability, when a friendly non-hero infantry unit that has not fought, that is within this unit's combat range, 3 inches, that unit can immediately fight after you fight.
So it's a tandem fight.
Yes, this is basically I'm in the middle of a unit of Verminous infantry, which is only clan rats or storm vermin. That's the downsides, and for this case, it really means storm vermin. But it can help you basically pile in this damage.
Right.
You can think of it as basically putting him in that unit a la 40k style.
Fair.
To get all that damage at once. And then that Warp Forged Blade plus the storm vermin, which I'll talk about next, is a pretty decent chunk of change.
Yeah.
Now, he's not terribly survivable, but that is where the storm vermin come in. Because they're only 1 wound, 6 inches, 4 up save, only 1 control. These are not your control pieces. They've got rusty halberds. They're 3 attacks each.
Which is pretty good.
Hits on 3s, wounds on 4s, 1 rend, 1 damage. Anti-charge plus 1 rend. So if you charge them, they get plus 1 rend. They have elite bodyguard, which is friendly Skaven infantry heroes have a 5-up ward while they're within this unit's combat range. So this is how you keep your claw lords alive. It's probably worth having one of these around your claw lords. And that, 3 attacks each, 10 models.
Yeah.
That's 30 attacks, hitting on 3s, wounding on 4s, 1 rend, 1 damage, plus the claw lords attacks. That's a pretty decent chunk of damage.
Yeah. And you can buff the unit, so there's 20-man unit.
Yeah, you could buff him. There's lots of, as we talked about the buffs. So I like that power pairing. Stormvermin were announced as going away. I really hope they get replaced by new Stormvermin.
Me too.
And that they're not just gone from the book, because they're really flavorful.
Yep.
And I really like them. And I have an absolute metric ton of them, because I think they're cool.
Nothing to the fact that Josh has, like, 60
I
of
have
them.
the old Queek model.
Yeah.
The one where he's on the thing with the, and that's what I use as my Claw Lord, because it's
Yeah, 'cause
so
it's
cool.
awesome.
And I don't want them to go away. Anyway, we talked a bit about Pestilence, so let's talk about Plague Monks. 1 wound, duh. 6-inch move, 6-up save. Only 1 control. Again, you really got to go for clan rats for that 2 control.
Yeah.
These have the fetid weapons, 2 attacks each, hitting on 4s, wounding on 5s. No rend, 1 damage, and they auto wound on crit. So they have Spreaders of Filth and Disease as their passive. Each time a model in this unit is slain by a combat attack, and that model was in combat with the attacking unit, aka you can't shoot, you can't do this if you get shot.
Yeah.
Even if you're in combat, it's only the thing that you were in combat with that attacked you. It's another thing they cleaned up. Roll the dice. On a 6-up, inflict 1 mortal wound on the attacking unit. And that's kind of my problem with Pestilence. These are your Pestilence foot soldiers, and they're not that great.
No, they're not great. They definitely...
Like, and I joke about disliking Pestilence. I actually don't dislike Pestilence that much.
Yeah.
They fill a very important niche in Skaven. I was about to say Skaven culture like I'm some kind of anthropologist.
Yeah.
But they're important to Skaven, and I don't dislike them.
Yeah.
But this is a big step down from what Plague Monks were.
Yeah, considering storm vermin have an extra attack on them.
Which, I mean, to be fair, that's something that was felt inaccurate last edition. Where it was
Yes.
like, Storm Vermin are supposed to be the elite.
Yes. But, like, the whole thing about them is they're, like, the rabid, crazed
Plague Monks are
monks.
supposed to be the crazy nutters.
Yeah. Like, you could get them to 5 attacks, but now you can't, first
Right.
of all.
They have few number of attacks and wounding on 5s in addition.
Yeah.
Now, let's see, can we buff them? So the Plague Furnace, which is only thing Plague Furnace does, is it hands them out a 6-up ward.
Which, with a 6-up save and a 6-up ward, is not going to
You're still not very
long.
durable. They're not great. There's no Plague Priest anymore. The Plague Prayers, like we talked about, we're not super buffing. I mean, there's the one to inflict mortals on the charge. But that's kind of all. There's nothing that really buffs their offensiveness that much.
No.
Offensiveness that
So
much.
you add 1 to wound and crit mortals.
Sure.
But even then you're going to 4s.
Right.
Which is what clan rats are, aren't they?
No, clan rats are also 5s. Clan rats are also very bad.
they looked at rats and went, "You guys suck."
Which makes sense, because rats are supposed to suck.
They are.
The Vermin Lord Corruptor is kind of your linchpin for this. We'll talk about him as our only Vermin Lord. He's got 13 wounds, they all do. 4-up save, they all do. 10-inch movement, they all do. In his case, he's got 8 attacks, 3s and 2s, 2 rend, 2 damage, which is appropriately terrifying.
Yep.
He's got a a once per turn ability where he inflicts an amount of mortal damage on 3 enemy units in combat with you. On a 2-up, they get 2-up on D3. They get 2 or 3 mortal wounds.
That many mortal wounds.
And they also give you a ritual point for prayers.
Nice, because he is a priest. We
Which is
mentioned
nice.
that earlier.
He's also got Lord of the Great Plagues, which is every time a Pestilence Priest rolls a natural 6 on their chant roll, you can inflict mortal damage. You can reroll chanting rolls for the rest of the friend battle for Friendly Plague Priest, which is the one you will pick first. Or you can inflict mortal damage.
Yep. Interestingly, how close he has to be to a priest doesn't matter.
No.
It's just anywhere on the board you roll a 6, you get an ability. That's pretty good.
If you are going into prayers and Pestilence as by extension, you have to bring this guy, basically. Because the Plague Furnace doesn't actually do that much.
No, it doesn't. It's really sad.
It's a priest, but it doesn't actually do that much. It really feels like I can only hope that this is heralding a Pestilence redo later.
Oh, yeah, me too. I said this when they announced that the Plague Monks weren't getting redone.
Because they're old and bad. You hear that, people that were mad that we were complaining about dwarves being old and bad? Well, Plague Monks are worse in every way. They're pretty bad.
I know they're pretty bad, but dwarves?
Anyway, my overall point is that the Pestilence feels like the weakest part of this book.
Yes.
This index.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I could agree with that.
And that kind of sucks.
It does.
Because they're thematic and I like the idea of them. And those prayers are powerful, and it feels like you want to bring one, but you can't just splash into priest anymore.
No. The cheapest one is what?
The cheapest is $340 for the Plague Furnace.
Yep.
And you might as well just go $360 for Corruptor.
Yeah. Let alone if you want to put multiple priests on the board.
Feels like something's missing.
Yeah.
Like, the loss of that priest foot hero really feels like they gutted that section of this index.
They got rid of the priest foot hero, and they got rid of the damage dealing that was the
Censor Bears.
Censor Bears.
Or the damage dealing that was the monks.
Yeah.
Because monks used to be... Maybe this is a thing where they're punishing for the sins of the past. Because remember when monks were terrifying?
Yeah.
They didn't need to be that terrifying. But right now, I don't know why I'd take them.
Yeah, agreed. And I say that as someone with a bunch of monks.
Because the prayers, you can it's just Skaven infantry.
Yeah.
You can do that just as well with clan rats. Who have OC2. I guess they only have 1 attack. Error, never mind, they have 2 attacks. And they get to D3 slain models returned.
And they have 1 better save. Oh, they don't have 2 control, though. You're wrong about that.
Oh, no, they don't. Okay, never mind.
So they have the same amount of attacks, the same to hit, the same to wound, but D3 return every turn on a better save, and still 20 models? Still 20 models in a unit, and crit auto wound.
I don't want to end in negativity, so let's end on something that I think is one of the most fun things in this book, which is the Doom Wheel. So the Doom Wheel, for a glorious 140 points, you get, this is my favorite part, 2d6 plus 7 movement. It used to just be 2d6.
Yes.
So you could roll snake eyes.
You just go like...
But now you will always get at least 9 inches of movement.
Which is great.
Which is really good. And potentially 19 inches of
Oh
movement.
my god. Roll them double 6s and you're flying across
I
the board.
love this model so much.
Yeah.
So it's only got a 4-up save and 8 wounds, or 8 health. I know everyone
It's
knows
great,
what I'm
yeah.
talking about, but
Yeah,
I'm trying to be better. Its attacks are not wonderful. You've got D6 number of attacks at 13 inches. 3s and 3s, 1 rend, D3 damage. It can shoot in combat, though. But that's not the best thing it can do in combat. It's also got 6 melee attacks, hitting on 4s, wounding on 3s, no rend, 1 damage, but plus 1 damage on the charge.
So it wants to be going.
It always be charging. ABCs. Always be charging.
Always be charge.
By itself, that's like, this is fine. First off, what a glow up. Already,
Oh, yeah.
this is so much better than the Doom Wheel last time. And the Doom Wheel is so iconic to Skaven.
It is.
There's a reason it shows up in the Total War Warhammer 2 trailer
Yep.
for Skaven. Rolling Doom. This unit can move a distance up to its move characteristic. Well, duh. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
This unit can pass through other models and the combat ranges of enemy units, but it cannot end that move in combat. Oh. So you can fly over people.
Yeah.
Other models being friendly or enemy. And you can just go through, and you can't end in 3 inches. You still have to do a charge for that, but you can move around them. So ain't nothing gonna, I will never be slowed, will not be chained. Then, pick up to 3 enemy units that this unit passed across during that move to be the targets. Roll a d3 for each target. On a 2-up, inflict an amount of mortal damage on the target, roll equal to the unit. That's fine. Designers note this unit can use this ability even if it is in combat.
Oh.
I got no strings to hold me down.
I missed that part somehow.
So remember that in Age of Sigmar, everything is ability-based.
Yes.
We are now in an ability-based economy. Movement is an ability where you activate your movement ability and move up to your move characteristics. This is movement plus.
Yes.
This is basically replacing the whole when a Doom Wheel moves, it can do this. No. You could, if you wanted to, use the other movement ability. You could not use this.
That's true.
But you don't ever have to retreat from combat.
Right.
You can move out of combat, which means there's nothing stopping you from charging.
Right.
And you always want to be charging.
Yes. ABCs.
ABCs always be charging. So you're always doing, and D3 mortals on a 2-up.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's not amazing, but it's good.
Yeah.
Now, I will say this is less unique than it used to be because a lot of things have that plow through ability now, right? We have that move through enemies. So this is not as used, but this can do it in combat. And it can shoot in combat. And it can move between 7 to 19 between 9 to 19 inches every turn. Yeah, you're not durable, but you're really fun, and it's only 140 points.
Yeah. It is. I'm seeing this hero hunting.
Yeah.
It's gonna charge a hero, and then if it doesn't kill it, it's gonna move, deal some mortal wounds, and then charge another hero.
Or just Tokyo drift around and keep hitting
That's
the
true.
same guy.
Hit the same guy. As long as you don't die, who cares?
It's like they watched people playing Doom Wheels in Total War and decided, how do we make it do that? And this is what they came up with.
It's great.
It's not offensively great. Like, you're probably not going to threaten anything that's really threatening, and anything that's really threatening is going to squish you.
Oh, 100%. This is not going to kill Kazurai or, I almost said Abaddon.
Abbott and Costello.
Abbott and Costello.
AKA Thank One Bone Ripper.
Yes.
Bowler hats.
But it's going to charge something that doesn't want to be charged, completely murder it, and if it doesn't, it's going to leave and die. Try again.
No ranged unit is safe. Now, are things that are weak. It's weaker too.
Yes.
It's weak to counter battery fire.
Yes.
But a 4-up save ain't bad.
Yeah.
And also, what keywords does this have? Why, it has the Scryer keyword.
It does. So you can buff its range attack.
Hitting on 2s, wounding on 3s, 1 rend D3 damage with shoot in combat ain't too shabby.
No.
Though the D6 attacks really lets it down because you will roll 6.
That's true.
Or you roll a 1 when you really, really don't want to.
Yeah, I wish it still had the ability to roll 2d6 but take mortal wounds, but
Yeah, they removed a lot of the randomness from the Doom Wheel, and in doing so made it one of my favorite units. I have 1 Doom Wheel. I now want to get 2 more Doom Wheels.
I have 2. And every single time I used them previously, they would shoot once and explode.
Yeah, because Doom Wheels.
Because Doom Wheels.
So yeah. So we might return later to do a full rundown on every single war scroll in this index. Probably not, because honestly, they're getting a book soon.
Yeah,
We'll
true.
do it when that comes out. That'll be a few months. So
But if you want us to do it on other factions,
let us know.
let us know.
Overall, what's your overall opinion on Skaven?
I'm really hyped to try them out. The only reason I don't want to put them on the table first is because they're in the starter box and everybody else is going to.
I don't care. I'm going to mirror match this thing
I
to
know
days.
you don't care.
That just means there's more Skaven.
True.
That just means that all those traitors who are trying to stab me in the back to stop my ascension to glorious Vermin Lord,
Get stabbed in the back.
I can stab them in the back firstest. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. I'm obviously super pumped. I'm a little bummed about Pestilence.
Yeah.
The removal of that Plague Priest feels like they just got gutted.
Yeah.
Although
and-
the Corruptor himself seems a lot better than he used to be.
Yes, the Corruptor is better. The Plague Monks are worse, and then 2 of their main units are gone.
Right, which, I mean, they needed to be gone. They were old garbage models. Sensor Bearers were bad. I just hope they come
Sensor
back.
Bearers were bad.
I just hope they come back.
If they don't get replaced by something, I'm not sure what they're gonna do.
Yeah.
Pestilence used to be their own book.
Yeah, and I don't want them to be that.
I agree with that, but like they've fallen down to 3 units in the whole book. Come on,
how the
4.
mighty have fallen.
4 with the catapult.
But for now, I'm still super excited to play this book.
Yeah. The rest of it looks great. I'm excited.
Yeah. So join me in Skaven land, everybody. That's it from us this time. Next up, we'll talk about everyone's other favorite starter faction, the Stormcast Eternals.
You mean Cruel Boys?
The what? If you'd like us to cover your favorite faction after that, let us know below which one you'd like to see so we know. Because otherwise, we're just going to keep covering the ones we want to do. And it's probably going to be like Karajan Overlords next because they're short. I mean, the book is short. They're also short. Until that time.
Bye.
Bye-bye.